I appear very confident, but deep inside with me, I'm second guessing myself constantly. I was bullied in the workplace. Self-doubt, suicidal thoughts, living in fight and flight, constantly throwing up in my front garden before going to work. I lost all self-identity. I was a shadow of a man of who I was. And he said, but Andy, there's no ranking on trauma. Oh, and it just hit me real hard. Creating safe spaces where people can be vulnerable is probably the gateway to connection. I can make you the best teacher on the planet, but I can't teach you how to connect. That's from your whole life experience coming together all in one.
Are you happy now?
I'm the most content I've ever been. I don't believe we'll ever be fixed, but I now know I'm not broken.
This is Elemental Conversations, where leadership isn't just talked about, it's tested. I'm Tyler, your host, helping you lead with your values, push through adversity, roll with change, and make bold decisions. New episodes every Monday. Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and if you're ready to challenge the status quo, then get ready to let the alchemy of education ignite your passion for learning.
Fire, earth, wind, water. This is the Elemental Educator, and now your host, Tyler Como.
When people first meet you, what do they assume, normally get wrong?
And a half. Never thought about anything like that before. Confidence. Yeah. Probably the insecurity that probably is deep within me for sure. Yeah. I appear very confident, very energetic. Maybe I know I look like what I know what I'm talking about, but deep inside with me, I'm second guessing myself constantly. Yeah.
So
that would be it.
Definitely feelings of belief, right? And maybe self-doubt along the way. Who believed in you before you believed in yourself?
You know, I don't know if I can fully answer that one because I didn't grow up with my dad in my house. I didn't really have a male role figure. Well, I did, but he wouldn't know about it. My mum definitely believed in me, but I don't know if she knew how to put it in a way across maybe a male role figure would have been able to, or maybe what I needed, I guess. I always felt super loved by Mum. I had a great childhood. But yeah, now I know what I know and what I look for and what I seek and what I do for my, hopefully give to my children. I probably didn't receive half of what I needed. Yeah.
One of the most important things our audience needs to know today about you to understand your story.
That vulnerability, creating safe spaces where people can be vulnerable is probably the gateway to connection. And I think connection is probably the most important thing before we enter any type of workplace, conversation, connection with, meeting people at work, thriving in the workplace, thriving in life. Before we can lead with purpose, we have to live with purpose. And I think connection for me is the first and foremost most important thing.
You mentioned vulnerability. How do you define it?
Feeling safe to be showing your weakness, whether it's classed as a weakness, but be feeling safe to get things wrong. Feeling safe in being the fool in the room is what I say to people. Be the fool in the room, but it's easy to say it, but to actually fulfill it and do it is the next bridge people have to cross. And I think if it depends on what angle you're in, but if I'm leading or am I as a fellow host, I always want my first priority is someone feeling safe. And I think if they feel safe, they feel open to be vulnerable. And if you not expose, but if you give yourself a little bit, show your vulnerability, then they feel even safer to do the same. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love your definition.
Yeah, cool.
Alchemists, welcome to a new episode. We've got an amazing guest, Andrew White, the creator and host of the Leading Our Own Way podcast, where he spotlights raw, inspiring stories of resilience, growth, and transformation. From navigating trauma to redefining success, Andrew has built a platform that empowers other leaders to lead with authenticity and courage. Andrew, I know it's evening where you are, morning where I am, but I just want to take some time and say thank you so much for making time in your day to join me on our show.
Such an honor, my friend. Thank you for waking up early as well on the opposite end of the day. I know you're in Canada and I'm in Australia. Hopefully we can give what the people need because we're probably both super tired.
I get so excited whenever I get to record these. So waking up for them is absolutely no problem. And, a few of the people that I've interviewed in the past from Australia, you guys are from the future. And yeah. I've had one person, Utkarsh Narang. He actually let us know the lucky lottery numbers for people that were listening on the Friday ready to buy early before they called the numbers. So I'm wondering if you have any lucky number to share with us this morning.
He's been a guest on my podcast,
There we go.
Yeah. Did you not know that?
I actually did know that because I did a little research on what it is where you are. I saw him pop up. I'm like, hey, we talked to the same people.
Love that. Yeah, it was when I saw him come on yours. I was like, because I was already following you. So
yeah,
and I'd already been a bit of a supportive person of your platform because my journey definitely aligns with your podcast. So when I saw him, I was like, this is a crazy small podcast world that we live in, isn't it?
That's right.
But no, I don't have any numbers to answer your question, by the way. Probably would go, I'll throw some out there, but I'd go with my lucky numbers, 8, 23, 45, my age at 41, and how many more numbers do you need? One? How many?
42. Sure. For those that play the lottery, how many numbers are there? Let me know. Tyler at elementaleducator.com. I need help playing the lottery at some point in my life. Hey, we're going to get into, we talked about vulnerability. We talked about connection. To me, these are the definitions of values and things that we stand for. And so with that being said, we're going to jump into our first segment, all about core values in grounded moments. Hey, Alchemist, before we get into this, my one request is it would mean everything to me if you would head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Growing the channel enables me to bring incredible guests like Andrew on and continue delivering the best show I can for you.
3, 2, 1.
Rooted in wisdom, driven by purpose, Grounded Moments is all about values, and there is no better way to see what we truly stand for, Andrew, than to play a game. So this game is called Principle or Preference. I'm going to give you a scenario, and you can reply in one of two ways. It's either a principle, something that's core to you, or a preference, which means it's okay if people don't take it on. There's no time for explanations, no room for errors. We're spot on here, ready to play?
I've seen this. This scares me.
We'll give it our best go and we'll see how it goes. So principle or preference, celebrating small wins publicly.
Principle.
Letting your team miss a deadline.
Principle.
Swearing in the workplace.
Depends on the moment, preferable.
Choosing loyalty over performance.
Principle. Well, definitely.
Keeping your calendar open on Fridays.
Principle.
Being friends with your staff.
Principle.
Having zero tolerance for gossip.
Yeah, I don't like gossip. Principle.
Talking politics at work.
Preferable.
Making team retreats mandatory.
Preferable.
Letting go of someone you personally like.
Preferable.
There we go. And those are some heavy-hitting questions rapid fire. We get to cut them, put them into a short. It'll make it look like you answered within 10 seconds for all of them. So it'll be great. We'll have lots of fun with it.
Definition right as well. I was like, shit.
That's the right. And so some people want to give the explanation as to why they said it, or they want both. And there's the context, right? So
I saw you tell somebody off, so I was very nervous about it. Giving a reason, not telling anyone off. I was joking.
There you go. Yeah. But we don't get to back them up. We don't get to defend them, but we can, go back and expand on them if we want to here. Okay. And so what I want to ask you is, when we talked about vulnerability and connection, what are the top things you look for in somebody to tell that, yes, this person is vulnerable. Yes, they do actually want to build meaningful connection.
What do I look for in somebody, did you say?
Yeah. What does that look like to you when somebody is genuine with this?
For me, it's energy. I look for pure energy. I give off energy. I just look for people, just, even the way they touch and move and look with their eyes. I just really look for their just not being stiff and, just being themselves. I really look for people just being authentic and being themselves. That is the first and foremost. I can tell somebody a mile off now. I've looked at different personality traits, narcissism and things like that, and egotistical people. And it doesn't have to be necessarily leaders. It's just the everyday person. But I just want people to share their home life, sit and have a coffee with someone, and you can really connect and learn a lot in that moment. And if somebody has a laugh about themselves and is that fool in the room, that's kind of what I look for in anybody. It doesn't matter what position they're in. And I don't even have to think about doing it myself. I just do it. I'm just being me all the time. I say it to people when I still work in schools. I left my career as a teacher, but I still work in schools, and how I am with the children versus the adults is exactly the same. I just might not swear in front of the kids. Well, no, not might. Definitely don't swear in front of the kids. You know what I mean? They still see the genuine person, and that's why I think these kids relate to me. And I go to a lot of different places. I'm not at one particular thing, so which was usually a lot harder to build connection with. But I don't have that issue. I feel like it just comes naturally. So I kind of look for the same. However, I make people feel, I want them to feel that they've known me for a long time, for years, if that's kind of a target of mine. And that's what I look for in other people too. And obviously everyone's at different stages in their life, different purposes, different stages in their mental health. And I kind of acknowledge that, and I'm self-aware of that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. And you might not swear in front of kids, but as somebody who's a principal right now, they'll swear in front of you still. They don't care.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
I get it all the time, but you just run it off.
That's right. It's hard to be something you're not, right? Like you talk about showing up as your authentic self. And I think about people that don't show up as their authentic self into situations. That's hard. You go to home and you go to bed exhausted because you've played pretend all day, right? And so to show up as your authentic self, I think that's so important. But it is something hard to do because people get nervous. They want to give their best impressions right away. What advice do you have to help people stay true to who they are and show up authentically?
Again, it depends. There's layers to the question, isn't there? There's layers to the answer. It depends on the stage in which you're meeting somebody. But I don't think you can start off by giving advice. I think you have to model that yourself. Just going back to what I said before and reiterating what I said before. If you are who you are, it feeds off. It really feeds off in your energy. If you're stressed, they always say if you're in the meeting and you go in there quite happy and you come out stressed, the odds are the person conducting the meeting is just releasing all that cortisol into the atmosphere. And there are scientific studies being done where your cortisol will run off into somebody else and they will run out stressed. So I think if you go to the opposite end of that paradigm and you're feeding off trust, and you can release that oxytocin into the air, it will come off into them as well. So the next day they'll come to work happy, and then they might start to reflect on their own life purpose. And if they're going to work happy every day and it's not fake, and well, it will become obvious if it's fake, because these, like you said before, people will burn out from being fake. It will become fairly obvious over time. People can't withstand it because it causes chronic stress. So I think if I'm a leader or just a normal person and a colleague in the workplace, if I'm true to myself and I do that every day, that can come at a cost for yourself though, being authentic all the time and it's not reciprocated. But I understand how hard that is because I've been in that position too. But I've always looked back and gone, nah, I'm myself. And I've had many people say before, I don't come to work to make friends. Well, in the industry that I'm in, and I know it's not just teaching or education, it's in health, it can be in corporate, of course. When you spend 8 hours a day with somebody, why can't you be friends? We don't have to go to dinner every day. We don't have to go to drinks every single night. But why can't we enjoy our company whilst we work together? And I think that's when teams thrive, and that's when people come to work happier, and they're hopefully inspired by the people. We always talk about the leaders, but be inspired by the people that we work alongside too, Yeah.
So I know we talked about how I'm in Canada, specifically Alberta. One of the things that the province does really well is they set, it's called teacher quality standards, where every teacher is evaluated based on these standards. And there's a leadership quality standard where every principal and assistant principal is, evaluated based on them. There's a superintendent leadership quality standard. And the first standard in all three of these categories is a fostering effective relationship. And it comes down to, how do you build connection with people? How do you build people up, fail forward, and have that mindset of, we're going to take this on together. We're going to collaboratively respond to these situations, versus this is a ranking system on a hierarchical ladder and you're going to follow the chain of command, right? There's a big difference between those two approaches and how we want to work together. And if you choose the first way, it's going to be a lot easier, and you're not going to burn out. You're going to wake up wanting to go to your work, wanting to do your job, still wanting to go home after, because that's fun too. But you're going to enjoy 20 to 30 years of your profession a lot more if you take the mindset of the people around you are people to connect with. So I appreciate the message. And, before coming on the show, Andrew, I asked you to share a quote with me that resonates with you. And the one that you shared is, there is no ranking on trauma. So I'd like to know, where did you find this quote, and why did you choose to bring it onto the show today?
So my journey in the education system, I was bullied in the workplace. I won the National Teacher of the Year award. That was my award here at the side of me in 2014, and that was really the beginning of the end for me. It's such a beautiful award, and I'm so honoured to have won it. But I found myself in a very difficult situation afterward, through hatred and jealousy. So I went on a huge journey of self-doubt, suicidal thoughts, living in fight and flight, constantly throwing up in my front garden before going to work. I lost all self-identity. I was a shadow of a man of who I was when I first moved to Australia. And remember, coming to Australia to play originally a professional sport, I'd come to study, left everything behind. There's an element of confidence that comes with that, right? That's not easy to do, and you have to be quite a strong person to do that. Not everybody can just up and leave their friends and family and move to the side of the world, because I'm from Manchester, England. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I was bullied over a long period of time, and then I went through a journey of anxiety and paranoia when the truth eventually came out and these people were eventually moved on. I had to go through a whole new recovery, because I couldn't just leave. I was sponsored to stay in the school to be in Australia. The employer sponsored me, so I couldn't just up and leave and go and get another job. It wasn't that simple. It cost a lot of money and a lot of visa applications. So through that recovery, I looked for many fixes, pleasure eating, new car, built this new house, had my child, all these things that you think would fix you didn't. And I know it sounds terrible, having that purpose of my son, it didn't fix me. It was the whole oxygen mask scenario on a plane. I had to really work within myself. And then I found myself in a new toxic environment. I was honoured to be picked to open a school. I helped build and open a school from scratch with 4 other people for a private entity here in Australia, and I found myself in another toxic environment. Not being bullied, but toxic leadership. I left there 6 weeks after leaving there. When I completed my first year, I was rushed into hospital with septic shock in the bile duct. I was 30 minutes away from being in a coma, and the surgeon had rang my partner to tell her that, to prepare for the worst. From there, I went on this whole journey of, studying, reading the brain, human physiology, writing my book, How to Lead with Purpose. And then I figured that I needed to learn to live with purpose in order to be able to lead with purpose. So it's like I should write a prequel to that in a way. And I was sat with one of my good friends who had moved from England to play professional basketball too. We'd reconnected, and he sat, heard, listened to my journey in depth. A lot deeper than what I just shared. We were there for hours. He just listened. He didn't really speak. Didn't give me advice. Which I'd done a million times, but this time it was different. And some time goes by, and we reconnect again, go for another drink at his place. And he proceeded to tell me his journey. And I lay back and just went, holy crap. Wow. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to swear on here, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
All right. I was like, holy shit. Because I'm reflecting on the journey that I just shared with him, right? The couple of weeks before. And he lost his partner to suicide. And he went into how he found her and stuff like that. And he's been a guest on my podcast too. He was like my episode number 6, something like that, 6 or 7. And I just sat back and just shriveled up, because I'm not going to lie, I was embarrassed about my journey and my trauma. It was traumatic to me, and I'd never felt anything like that before. I'd been through, my mum having cancer, which is obviously terrible, of course, and, my gran dying, who brought me up. I'd been through difficult times before, but I was able to move through them in a healthy way. But this was drawn out over, an 8-year period of struggle, darkness for myself personally. And And I was embarrassed, and we both got upset, and I really got upset. And I was like, wow, I'm just so embarrassed, because I feel like if I'd been through what you'd been through, I would not want to be here. But I felt like that in a way with what I went through, but I didn't feel my trauma was anywhere close to his trauma. And he said, but Andy, there's no ranking on trauma. And it just hit me real hard. And I reference that quote quite a lot, because I'm dealing with, when I interview people, they're being vulnerable and they're sharing their own journeys of trauma. 80% of the guests, it's trauma related to something that they've been through personally, to show how they've come out of that adversity. And that's just always stuck with me. And that's the short version, I suppose, of why that quote is held closely to my heart. And, whenever you're looking out at other people, whoever you're dealing with, you hear a lot of people in the workplace, going, well, if I can do it, you can do it. I've got 2 kids too, and, those type of comments. And I just look back and go, no, everyone's got their own life, and everyone's been through different things. Even if you've been through the same thing or very similar thing, it's very, very different of how we respond to it. So yeah, that's why that trauma, that no ranking on traumas quote lies very closely to me now after that. And it brought us a lot closer too. And I can share that with other people, and I hope that they take away what I did from him.
I appreciate the incredibly vulnerable story and the transparency and communicating that with the audience, because it's such a clear picture to them, and hopefully, and definitely to myself, around, everybody is raised and born and raised in a different environment, and we all experience, you could have the same event happen, but based off of our previous experiences from our life, we're going to respond to that event differently. And that's one of the top things they train us in trauma training is, it doesn't matter if it was the same thing that happened to a group of people. You're going to have 100 people respond differently because they've lived different lives.
That's right. And it's also the expression of our genes as well. We to get a clear understanding, I think we should get roadmaps of our gene types and our genotype. And you might be more predisposed. If we had the same car accident, you could walk out and go, that was a bad one, that was a close one. I could go into deep depression based on the expression of our genes as well, and how we live our life. Prior to those things. And I think if we can work on ourselves on a much deeper level, we're always going to have something negative come our way. I've done so much work. When a comment comes my way now, I've noticed through self-reflection, they kind of run off my back a lot more. Whereas, a few years ago, from the triggers of what I'd been through, I would have lost days of sleep, overthought it, want to phone them to fix the problem. It's not always the answer,
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. One question I have here, to talk about trauma and then to talk about competence in a workplace are 2 different things, and they can sometimes bridge together. But, you made reference to the line of, one of the phrases you hate is, oh, I can do this, you should be able to do it too. Now, I agree that it's generally not a good idea for a leader, a colleague, or somebody to walk around and say, because I can do it, you should too. But to what extent should people also then be held to certain competency skills that they should actually just be able to do? And instead of communicating it in a way of, I can do it, so you should, how should that be communicated that, well, this is your job and you should be able to do that?
Well, it's based on, you already know Jeff or Jack and how they work, right? If you've worked with them for 2 months, you've got a good picture of how they've already conducted themselves up to that point of need. It could be years, it could be weeks. If it's days, it's a lot harder. That might paint a picture of laziness, or it might paint a picture of, am I starting to regret my decision of hiring this person? But no matter what stage of life they're in, or stage of journey of a relationship that you hold with them, sit down and ask them, are you okay? I give the same advice to most people. Sit down and ask them a very simple question. Are you okay? What's going on for you? I can see this happening. This hasn't happened before. I'm just wondering if everything's okay. You might open that door to a whole new gateway of vulnerability, which you never thought. You don't know if Jeff's going through a divorce. You don't know if Jack's just lost his mother. He might not be open to share. He might be scared, nervous. We don't know. It's interesting. I forget where I heard this one, and picture somebody being late a few times in the morning in a row, and you're upset that they're late, and obviously it looked really bad, of course. But if you sat with them and said, "Are you okay?" If that person was to turn around and say to you, their subconscious thinking, "Finally, someone's asking me if I'm okay. I'm being noticed. I'm being recognised," and they turn around to you and said, "I actually almost ended my life last night. I had some thoughts and I was so close to doing this." All of a sudden, I know this is extreme, but all of a sudden, that worry of being late has left your thought process. You no longer care about them being late. Have you ever seen the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey?
Yep.
And they share the example on the subway, when the guy, he's sat on the subway or the train or wherever it was, the bus, and the kids are just running up and down, left, right and centre, making a heap of noise, and everyone's looking at bad parenting. This is disgraceful. How can these kids be running up and down the coach and blah, blah, blah. And he shares the journey. The camera kind of crops to him sharing to the person next to him saying, "We've just come from the hospital and we've just lost my wife, their children, and they don't know yet. And I have to get home and share." All of a sudden, your disgust of judgment of that parent and those children making such havoc, you're thinking, make as much noise as you want, kids. Go for it. Perspective is everything. But we are definitely quick to jump to the side. But yeah, we definitely have to make people accountable. And with these conversations, difficult conversations still have to be had. Absolutely. If we have a clear understanding of what's going wrong, what's going right, we have to have difficult conversation. And that also is the territory of being a good colleague and being a good leader as well, isn't it? Of course, I'm definitely not disputing that. And I probably would struggle in that area, if I'm honest. But I still would probably start with, "Are you okay?" and go from there.
Yeah. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
You know it. Yeah.
Yeah. Big fan of the 7 habits. And I want to add to that. I think a major flaw in the workplace is people are too proud of their hiring process.
Yeah.
And the reality is you're not that good at hiring people. People know how to chat GPT now and Canva and do whatever they need to do to put the best resume in front of you. And we're in an age where they can go through enough practice interviews, they can give you the best interview for the job that they want to. So the reality is you're getting a 1-hour snippet and you're making a judgment call based off of that. And there, I one of the best ways that somebody shared on this show just before this was to do a job is, you still do the interview and then you get that, hey, now we're going to hire you for 2 months versus a full year. Yeah. And we're going to reevaluate this in 2 months and see if we want to keep moving forward with it. And you're going to see what they show up as. And I know in education, we do like 1 year temporaries, 1 year probationaries. And it often leads to a supervisor evaluating you 3 times, 4 times in that year. Well, it's pretty easy to fake 3 to 4 times. And I hate fake it till you make it because it brings out the bad in people.
Yeah.
And it brings out the anger and the burnout and the frustration. And so I'd much rather see that on a shorter time span. And if it's not a good fit, you need to move on quick. But also recognizing that, as we've just talked about, life happens, genes happen, events happen. And somebody that's been a rock star for 10 years could be needing some serious help and effort put forward in year 11 based off of life experiences, because you never know. You never know. So
I couldn't agree more.
With that, and you've called yourself Andy. I've been calling you Andrew. Andy, yeah. Andrew, preference?
But even, I don't care. Yeah. Andy, you're a friend now, so just go with Andy if you want. But Andrew is what I do on the podcast.
There we go. Well, Andy, based off of your story so far and what I'm hearing, maybe sum it up for me here. What is a hill that you're willing to die on based on conversations with people? What will you argue forever with somebody until they understand it?
Never thought of anything like that before. I've been called defensive quite a lot, and I feel, that defensive child response. Oh, you sound like a defensive child, but you keep throwing daggers at me. What am I supposed to do? Stand there and take it? And context is everything. And a lot of people who come throwing daggers at you don't understand the context. And I think being heard is something that I will always argue for, is just to be heard and get every corner of the context. And then you can make a deeper decision, whatever that might be, in regards to whatever topic we're trying to cover. But I will argue till the sun goes down about being heard and defending my authenticity, and especially if my character's being defamed, for sure. Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I agree with it. And if I'm hearing you correctly too, a lot of the time when you're told you're being defensive or you're doing this, it's coming from somebody hierarchically above you
Yes.
who is trying in what they think in their mind is constructive criticism or feedback. And it's not. It's something that doesn't need to be said, that's being said anyway, in hopes of they are frustrated about something and they need to be heard. And instead of voicing it in a vulnerable way, they would much rather try to still feel powerful.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Absolutely. And I think feedback, I don't like it anymore about giving feedback. Feedback is criticizing what's happened. Whereas if we're giving advice feels nicer and friendlier. So we focus on the future. So that we can, I feel like as a leader now, I'd rather not give feedback and give more advice going forward, if that makes sense. You might have to touch on the past slightly to understand the direction in which you're going in with your advice. But that's where I would be looking at. And going back to your hiring situation, before I wanted to bring something up on that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're in education too, by the way, Tyler. Are you in education too?
Yeah, I'm a school principal.
There you go. I'll come and work with you. I think, well, you could cover this for being in Canada, but here in Australia, we're looking for, high impact strategy words. We're looking for, we have a VISO model here. We're looking for keywords to be ticked off. And I've been on the panel many times and we're looking for hearing these key words, tick, tick, tick. Oh, they've got the job, and it's a scoring system. For me, I think we should be looking how these people connect, because I've hired so many people because of the scoring system, because of merit and equity, and we hire them, and then all of a sudden they can't connect with the kids, they can't connect with the community and the parents, and they can't connect with the colleagues, and it all falls to chemizzle after like 6 months or a year. And like you say, those year contracts when we don't get renewed, what a waste of time. Do we not want to think of longevity? Do we not have the infinite mindset and bring all of those aspects into connection? It's so hard to teach connection. It really is. It comes from within. I can make you the best teacher on the planet, but I can't teach you how to connect. That's from your whole life experience coming together all in one. So why are we not asking these questions? Why are we not going off the vibe of the interview? Why are we not seeing how these guys connect in the real scenario, even maybe just watching them,
Mm-hmm.
Teacher observations, get rid of them. Absolutely get rid of them. Because when you're watching a teacher, we know the teacher knows you're there as a principal. So straight away, they're not being authentic. They could be acting authentic, but are they actually being authentic? No one on the planet will ever know, because you're not psychic. But a good leader, for me, would walk around every day, pop their head in. You could even go in and read a book with the kids, or you go and sit and watch the teacher read it. But there's no official papers. It wasn't planned. They might feel a bit of pressure, but after a bit, because you create a safe space for vulnerability, they will feel safe in your presence, and you will see the trueness in their teaching. The trueness. And I hate that word, but I'm going with it. That's what I would be doing. But I know by law, and I know for here, they have to tick that box, right? All comes back to ticking the boxes. And I don't know what it's like in Canada. I'm only assuming it's the same. But yeah, that's why I left the industry. Not for me anymore, and ticking boxes. We've just created so many tick boxes, we're losing the art of why we're teachers.
Yeah, formally, if I have a teacher that's up for contract or we're working on a growth plan.
Yeah.
We schedule times to go in and observe, because we want to see that they're capable, and I want to hold people capable.
Yeah.
To the skill. But informally, I'm in a classroom every day. I walk through, I pop in. They don't know I'm coming. Or what time, but they know at least twice a day I'm going to be in their room.
You get so you get your answers from that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I get more from that than I do from sitting down for 45 minutes and watching the most scripted lesson I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Right? So, and we have the best conversations from a 2-minute pop in, right? On this is what I saw in this moment. Just walk me through it, right?
Beautiful.
Agreed. one of the things I asked a reference that has a lot of weight, and people don't know that it has so much weight for me, but it's a huge factor, is how did they interact with the parents whenever I'm hiring, and whenever I get the response of, I don't know if I've ever had them talk to one. That's huge for me.
Huge.
Because it tells me that they're not genuinely connecting with families, right? And I I don't want to go back to, I do it, you should do it, everyone should do it. But
of course,
if we talk about competencies, and the number one competency that we're going to evaluate people on is effective relationships, you're already missing 1/3 of the group of the people that you can have a relationship with in the realm of education.
Yeah.
Right. So it's huge for me. Now, okay, we're getting carried away here. We're gonna have a 4-hour episode.
Oh, totally.
Andy. Now, I want to take everything that you just summarized for me there. Talking about you hate the word, but the trueness and showing up as your authentic self, the vulnerability behind it. And I want to squeeze that part of our conversation into a short 15 to 20-second elevator pitch from you as to why people need to consider showing up as their authentic selves. Do you want to give it your best go?
Man, God, I'm sweating on that one. Let me see what I got. Can you say it to me again? I need to replay what you said to me in my head.
Yeah. Have you ever seen like an infomercial?
Yeah, no, exactly what you're going for. Yeah.
Somebody's going to pop on. They're going to try to sell everybody. I'm asking you to sell the audience on why they need to show up as their authentic selves.
There's nobody you should be more true to anybody than is yourself. If you can be your authentic self, you'll show up for everyone you will become in touch with every single day. That's it.
There we go. That was well done. Right to the point. I love it. But with that, we talk about the adversity people face, and we've talked about that a bit at the start, and that's going to segue us to our segment where we're no longer talking about the earth element and what we value, and we're now talking about the air element and the adversity and the wind that comes our way. And with that, we're going to get into headwinds and tailwinds. Here we get down to the mistakes we've made and what was in the aftermath to learn. And to get into the comfort zone of mistakes, Andy, we're going to play yet another game. And this game is called Adversity Mad Libs. So I'm going to give you a fill in the blank situation. And your job is to just fill in the blanks that I give you. They can be honest truth. We can go with the true self here. We can totally make them up and have fun with it. You can get unhinged. I know you asked if you can swear or not. We'll keep it tamed, but if you want to go off on it, you can. I've yet to have somebody pick that route. Ready to give it a try?
I'll see what I've got. Let's do it.
All right. I once led a project that should have taken days, but after setbacks and a total meltdown, it took blank because of blank.
Can you say the last sentence for me?
I once led a project that should have taken days, but after some setbacks and a total meltdown, it took blank instead of blank.
It took weeks.
Sorry, it took blank because of blank.
All right. Oh, that's what changed it. It took. Oh my God, I'm struggling. It took days because of my colleague.
There we go. I'm giving you so much adversity here. I could just see you like, oh, this is the worst thing ever.
It's so stressful.
Okay, try this one out. The hardest feedback I've ever received came from blank, and I nearly blank because of it.
Came from my boss because I'm trying to replay what you say. Came from my boss, and it almost made me cry.
Let me try something here. Let me see. Yeah, that was great. Let me see if this works. You might have improved my show for me. I'm gonna try something.
This is really cool, by the way, what you do. This is very different. I like it.
I appreciate that. When I tried to blank, the result was blank. I wouldn't trade that failure for anything.
Oh. Can you put that back up again? When I try to discuss a problem, the result was shit. Negative. I don't know what's the right word to go for.
We'll go with that. I like that. That was good. Okay, I'll give you one more here just to put you on the spot again. The most unfixable situation I ever faced involved blank, and no backup plan.
Involved. I mean, I could be really fucking truthful here. Oh, ever faced involved one of the most disgusting, disgraceful comments I'd ever heard. Can you put it back up again? Yeah, involved the most disgusting accusation I'd ever heard by a colleague, and there wasn't a backup plan. I needed the truth to come out somehow, and luckily it did. For me.
I love that, and we'll get there. I have one more for you just for fun.
Yeah. I'm open about it, by the way.
Okay. Good. Looking back, I can't believe I survived blank at the time. I thought it would end everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. Looking back, I can't believe I survived the workplace the workplace bullying. At the time, I thought it would end everything, and I did. That's why I shriveled up into a nobody. Yeah.
There we go. That's Adversity Mad Libs. And that's a new game for me. It used to be a game called Make It Worse, where I would read a scenario and it was the guest's job to add to the scenario and make it worse. And the thing that I like it was fun, but I felt like we just got so deep there on an understanding of some adversity that happened that game turns into very powerful conversations. And so we can touch back on some of these, but the question I want to go to next, Andy, is what is something that you had to unlearn?
I opened a school, and it was a private school, and it was Reggio Emilia inspired, and it was deep. What they were asking us to do, emotionally intelligent for these children, was a whole level I don't believe anyone had ever done on the planet, and we had to unlearn everything we'd learned in as a teacher, as a human, as your traditional parenting ways. We brought this parenting philosophy into the school, and I had to unlearn how you would typically talk and respond and teach and manage and inspire these children. And it became a catch-22 for me, and it burnt me out. And then obviously the toxicity that was outside of that room made that situation even harder. That's where we weren't a team anymore. And it was a shame because it was such a pilot program, and it would have been beautiful in the long run. And I do believe they had everybody in the right place, the right people in the right place at the time. But it was having that long mindset, that infinite mindset to go for a long time. Yeah. I've got to be careful what I say.
I was going to say, I hear you, and I don't know if we can go there, but I hear you talking about toxicity of the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
What factors led you to identify that it was a toxic environment?
Well, the second time that was easy. The first time I didn't know it was toxic, because I see the best in everybody. I really do, and I still want that to exist. It can come at a cost occasionally, of course, but I'm willing to take that risk. But at the workplace bullying scenario 2015, I didn't see it. My partner saw it in emails to begin with, but I just took it as banter. And then it slowly just crept out over and over and over again. And so I didn't see that toxicity to begin with. Through that experience, though, gaslighting was one of the main issues within that workplace bullying. And things were brought to the table. Meetings were made up that didn't exist. And I would look like I wasn't showing up to meetings, but they didn't exist. Blah, blah, blah. And I would take resources and create plans. And that was put to the side and said no. But then that was presented by that other person in the meetings as theirs, things like that. I obviously, because I was so low, I accepted it, though. And I accepted it was just me, and I'm wrong. I always thought I was wrong. But through studying and reading about narcissism after that, because I learned a lot around the narcissistic traits. I've kind of shoved a lot of them out but I have a pretty good understanding of it. When I went into the new environment, years and years later, I'd again worked on myself so much, but after leaving there, I realized I hadn't fixed, and I was still broken. I don't believe we'll ever be fixed, but I now know I'm not broken, and there's a difference. But what I did notice, to answer your question, but I feel like I had to fill those gaps in before answering it, I started to notice negative examples coming my way to help benefit their narrative. Being put in certain rooms to have discussions with brought back memories of the bullying, and that's where I realized it was toxic. It was always alone, and then when there was a witness, when it went down the track, it was people who were in their corner, and I wasn't allowed to do the same. This person wasn't very smart, so text messages would come my way, and I obviously keep them as evidence. I've still got them till today, even though it was over 4 years ago. So yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question. There's a lot of an emotion coming out in this as well, but there was some of the toxic traits that I realized. Very, grandiosity. It was all about them labeling themselves as a role model in terms of, like, for example, the leader of a ship, or a leader of a plane, a pilot, a captain, things like that. When they labeled themselves like that, my first person did that. And when I saw it again, that triggered me. That's not to say anyone who does that is always like that, but that's what I noticed. Obviously, everyone will form their own opinions on that particular bit, but that triggered me. as a toxic trait. Yeah, things like that. That the vanity that comes alongside of all of that as well. And it was always language like I, not we, that I picked up on those small things. A lot of people probably don't, maybe, but I picked up on that type of language being used in meetings as well, and not acknowledging some of the work that we'd done as well to support her. Well, look, we were made to feel safe. The next level of narcissism here and in a deep emotional intelligence where it failed us was we were made to feel safe to be vulnerable. We were sat around the table. We were made to feel safe to be vulnerable. When we brought the vulnerability to the table, when the big other bosses weren't there, they thought they took that as detrimental to their career and then crushed us when those other people weren't there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't allow the space to be vulnerable and be safe. These people did, but then obviously crushed us when the certain other people weren't there, and that was the next layer I'd never seen before.
Yeah. That's bad.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and not go back to that workplace, is there anything you would do different?
No, because I've always been true to myself. No, I don't think so. I've thought about that many times. I probably would have spoken up earlier, but would I have acted differently going forward? No, I always wanted to connect with these people. I always wanted to laugh and be positive. I got there. I every single day got there to have, even what you said about the parents before, I used to get laughed at because I was having a coffee outside with the parents. Honestly, I would stand outside with my coffee, have a laugh with the parents. And, you get not accused, but, off your mates, you're flirting with that mum and you're having a laugh with that dad and, you're playing basketball with that dad. Because I play basketball with some of the dads. They invited me to go and play basketball with the dads. Because, one of them's from Italy. I'm from Australia. I'm from England. So we've got no connection. It was a way for us to form connection. Those type of things. So I wouldn't change a thing about my energy and my character and my ability to connect. But I know it did put a lot of people off because I'm a talker and I love to talk and connect, and sometimes the job does get sacrificed, but the job was always done nevertheless. It just might not have been at the same pace of somebody getting it done before 9 o'clock. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's one of the biggest mistakes you would say you've made?
I've made loads of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes for myself. Are we speaking about life here or more particular the workplace?
You could pick either or. Adversity is life and your workplace.
It's a tough one. When it comes to the bullying, one of the worst mistakes was allowing this person to take over my soul. That was one of the, and then bringing it home to my relationship. I would just lie on the couch and pleasure eat and not go to bed till 3 o'clock in the morning because I didn't want the next day to come. I lost. I still am with the person, my partner, that I didn't lose my relationship, so I'm grateful for that. But she lost a partner for a very long time. And the biggest mistake was I probably wasn't the best dad when my son was born. When I say that, it doesn't mean I was a bad dad. I was there and I'd hold him and I'd do all the dad things. But I think deep inside of me, I could have quite easily at the time gone and sat on the couch to escape my own demon still, if that makes sense. So that was probably one of my biggest mistakes. And I know he'll never know because I left teaching 4 years ago to write the book after I almost went into the coma. I'm now a casual teacher every day to create physical, mental space to be able to do my podcast and to also, more importantly, to be present with my kids. It's like I was at my son's basketball at 5 o'clock tonight after school, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I was teaching. I know I wouldn't, because I put my heart and soul into the teaching, and I put my heart and soul into the depth of what's needed. And I don't want my kids to grow up at 18 and go, my dad was working till 7 o'clock every night, because that's exactly what I was doing. I will never make that mistake. Never.
One of the things that I love from a former guest, his name's Tom Buck, and he was a teacher in the United States who's now a YouTuber who talks about technology and things people should consider using if they want to get into technology like things. He said that, my segment here, headwinds and tailwinds, to talk about adversity. What we often forget is that the headwind can create lift and bring you up. The tailwind can give you momentum to push behind you. And that was always the thing of the tailwind. The headwind to me was something that slowed you down. And he reframed my mindset in the sense that when adversity's hitting you, It's to recognize that this is something that's actually going to bring you up and it's going to move you forward. And you can see, because of the person you are now, Andy, the adversity that you face, those headwinds that have come your way, they picked you up and they've changed who you are. And the fact that you were able to persevere through them has made you a stronger person than what you were. And that's where the comment comes from of, if you could go back, what would you do? You said, I would do it sooner. That's the strength that's been built in you that says I would act sooner versus waiting and waiting and waiting. And, as we talk about this adversity, as we talk about what would we change, what would we do, we're actually going to segue from our air element to our water element, where we start to talk about the changes that we make. And with that being said, let's get in to ripples of change. Small shifts, big waves. In Ripples of Change, we discover how to make a lasting impact. And Andy, we do have another game here. It's another element. This one not as stressful as the last two we played. This is quick tips. So I'm just going to ask a question, and as short as possible, a sentence or two. I want your advice for the question. Okay. What's a leadership myth you once believed, but you now reject?
That the leaders stand at the front.
What's a decision you made that went against your values, and what did it cost you?
Say it again for me.
What's a decision you made that went against your values, and what did it cost you?
Oh, God. There's so many little micro ones everywhere. Oh, God, that's actually quite hard.
We can come back to it. I can go to the next one.
Yeah, let's come back to that one.
What's one thing leadership training doesn't prepare you for?
The ability to connect.
What's your rule when it comes to praise versus accountability?
What's my rule? Say it again for me. The rule of...
What's your rule when it comes to praise versus accountability?
Be truthful on both of them.
Love that. What's a weird personal habit that secretly has made you better?
Yeah, swearing all the time. God,
They
that's
say it's
actually
linked
good.
to intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, God. This is actually quite hard. Say it to me for again, the first part.
What's a weird personal habit that has secretly made you better?
Weird personal habit. Oh my God. I crack my fingers. I don't know if I have any weird habits. Do I? I'll have to ask my partner on this one.
Well, you run a podcast. It's pretty weird.
Weird habits. Oh my God. Weird habits. I don't have any.
Let's be honest. If they were weird, you probably wouldn't know they were.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Weird habits. God. Can you give me an example of a weird habit for you, and then that might just make it fly for me?
No, I don't know. You're putting me on the spot. I'm the host. I asked the question.
What's a weird habit you would do at work then? Like, give me something at work related that people would say you have a weird habit on.
People say it's weird, but I loved it. We had a kid that comes into our school every day.
Yeah.
And he says, today's going to be a great day. And I had some staff that laugh and they just think it's funny. And I'm like, guys, this is the best way to start our day. And so on the morning announcements, before we played O Canada, myself or the kids or whoever did announcements in the morning would end it with, today's going to be a great day. And we would put that on our announcements. And that was a weird habit that kind of formed, but it left me walking out to start my day feeling good about my day.
I like that. Yeah, I really like that. Okay, so you class that as a weird habit. I didn't think that was weird, but okay. Yeah, no, okay.
Weird because other people thought it was weird. I thought it was great.
I think it's great. Yeah, I don't know why people think that's weird. Well, I've started learning about the brain and human physiology. So maybe it's a weird habit that I talk a lot to people about, like, neural pathways. To them
you
all
love
the
this
time.
topic, though. You love it.
I do love it. I definitely love it. And I teach the kids a code to remember every single day. And I explain to them how useless it is, how pointless it is, and how teachers should not teach you pointless stuff. And I give them this code and I get them to the whole point, and I teach them about the neural pathways, and I teach them about myelinating in the pathways in the mind. And I teach them the art of learning with the brain and memory and attention and focus, because that's something the world is dramatically lacking at the moment, with everything that we eat and sleep and touch with devices and so on. And it's become a habit. It has become a habit. And I must admit, I do think about how weird it might be to the outside. It's not weird to me, but I know other people might be thinking it's weird because of the brain. But I do feel like it's made me a better person, because they come up to me weeks later and will say that code to me. And I say, you've proven to yourself you can learn anything on this planet, whether you think it's meaningful or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And I love that feeling when the kids come up to me, even 8 months later, and I've not seen them for a while. They say, oh, I know the code, Mr. White. And they tell me the code. I'm like, you got it. See, don't ever tell me you can't do anything again. So whenever I'm in that class ever again and they can't do it, I'll go, you can't say can't because you remember the pointless code. So that means you can do this. Done. Tick.
Do you ever think they make up the code?
No, I make up the code.
Is it just one code?
One code.
One code.
One code. Do you want me to tell you the code?
I would love to know the code.
The code is Lara 5610. 5610. Stop. This code is going everywhere around Australia, I promise you. I'll say it one more time for you, and then I want you to repeat it back to me.
Lara...
You better not be typing it on your screen.
No. Lara 5610. Hashtag question mark full stop.
You nailed it, Tyler. Nailed it.
There we go.
I'll text you tomorrow, and I want you to voicemail it me. No writing it down.
Yeah, this is a recorded session. I'll just go back and listen. So
that's true.
I'll try to do it authentically so that I don't cheat the system. But I love that. I love the expression of it. And to nerd out about the brain, I'm fascinated with it. And I go to the side of, when we talk trauma, we talk fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We talk about the reptilian brain, right? And we had a conversation earlier here where we said it's in your genes, and there's the whole idea of when we were cavemen and we would exist and we would see something in the wild. There was a long time where we would flight from it. We would flight from it. We would flight from it. We would flight. And if we froze, we would be extinct because some of the things would come out and kill us. But we did a lot of flighting. Yep. And eventually we started freezing and wanting to see more. We were seeking to understand. And from that, we built the confidence to fight on that. And what's happening is your brain is constantly going into this feedback loop of, is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? And as soon as it decides it's safe, it can get into critical thinking. And the question, the $1 million question that nobody has a full answer for is, how do you make people feel safe so that you can get them to critical thinking all the time? Because we often have kids in schools, we have colleagues in workplaces, we have leaders in upper management levels that always feel not safe at times. And I'm not saying that 24/7 people don't feel safe. There are people like that as well. But how do we create a level of safety so that people can think critically instead of just going through fight, flight, freeze over and over and over again? So it fascinates me to get into that conversation with you. But before we get there, I want to go back to this one, and let's make this a longer answer if it needs to be. And I want to come back to, let me see, where did I go here? What's the decision you made that went against your values, and what did it cost you?
I think it comes back to a phone call that I received about the school that I opened. I never heard of it before, and somebody said to me, Andy, this is you. This is all you. This is you. And they said the name of the school, but I won't put it on here. And they said, this is all you. This is you, Mister, and then the name. And I read it, and it was, the first value was connection and honesty and openness, but the first one was connection. And I thought, oh, this sounds like a dream world, right? Every person on the planet would think this is a dream world, and they articulated it pretty well, and I felt like we could manipulate what we needed to manipulate to help the children thrive, and more importantly, us thrive. Because I think in most workplaces, we always, in particular education, we always talk about, in the corporate world, all the customers are always right. Well, are they? Not necessarily. Children, it's all about the children. I actually don't like that line. I really don't like that line, it's all about the children, because it's not. If we don't look after the sails of the ship that help sail the boat and whatever metaphor we want to go on, those children fail anyway. If those people in front of them are not coming to work with purpose and contentment and some form of happiness, because I believe happiness is a long-term state. I don't think we do fluctuate in and out, but I have arguments to counteract both angles of what I'm trying to say. So I contradict myself slightly, but I made the decision to go for my dream job, and it ended up being, at the time, not so much now, but I still can't look at it. I still feel like I can't drive past it and look at it. It's still, I'm not going to lie, it still hurts that I didn't get to live out the dream. I wouldn't say it went against my values, but within it, the person obviously went against my values, and that's what killed me. And I let myself into that vulnerable state. And I think, the decision that within that dream job is that I let myself be vulnerable. But I was at the same time, as I mentioned before, I was made to feel safe to be vulnerable, and that decision, though, is what impacted my health. I'm not even talking about the trajectory of my career anymore. Chronic stress had set in, and that's when my organs started to speak to me. When I left there, everything just obviously came out, and it impacted my health, and it almost cost me my life, because I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, and the pleasure eating wasn't enough to destroy my organs. It was cortisol, and I'll never put myself in that position again. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Tyler.
Are you happy now?
I'm the most content I've ever been. I'd say so, yeah. I'm the happy. I say it quite a lot. Do I dip? Absolutely. Yeah. I've just had school holidays, and I ate a bit of chocolate, I ate a bit of shit, and I had a couple of McDonald's, and I go down. And I didn't do my cold plunges because my routine in the morning was slightly different. I've not done as much weights recently. Again, not for vanity reasons, just for pure strength and movement, those core values that I now have, and I talk about on the podcast quite a lot. I've definitely let myself slip, and I can feel it. But it's like my own little science experiment, and it's good reflection of what works and what wasn't work, and then it goes back to being disciplined, and that is, I think, what all humans struggle with, is the discipline side of it. Not motivation. The motivation's there. It's my discipline. Those cold mornings, do I still get up and do it? It's hard, and you're in Canada. My God, it'll be even worse there for me. But
it's cold.
Yeah, it's cold, especially in January. I've been, so yeah. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, I'm content, and I now have a purpose, and my obviously the purpose on a personal level is the family, and being the father I hope to be. I'd like to think I am, but again, I get that wrong all the time, because when a child's born, we forget the child's born, but also the parent's born that day.
That's right.
And that we have to remember that, and it makes me feel a little bit better about myself that I'm still on that same. I'm the same age as my kid as a parent.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know I heard that even long ago, and it just resonated with myself so much. So yeah, I'll carry that forward with me. Yeah.
Now, talking discipline and changes, even the change, like you said, from school season to not school season, and what we do. What do you do when you need to action change? What steps do you take?
Some very small 1%ers, and I know that 1%er is very fashionable at the moment, and I say it a lot. I've heard you say it too, and I've heard it on some of the biggest podcasts in the world. But it's so true. It's so right. I think you've said it. Am I right that you said it about the 1%? Yeah. I thought you had, and I watched the whole clip, and I was like, it's so right, and it is very fashionable to say, but it's so true. These 1% changes, and I think the purpose of my podcast, if I can help prevent mental health decline or brain health decline by getting somebody to get out of their bed and walk to their shower, or walk to the edge of their bed, or walk to their bedroom, and then the next day it's outside into the front garden, and then a month later it's down the street, that is life changing. And that's an example of a 1%er. So for me, I know I can get back into all of those amazing routines, and that's why I don't go into a dark space, because I know I can do it. I've done it a million times before. I know how good it is for me, and I will do it. And I've already made that change. Today I didn't eat till lunchtime, which is a habit that I normally form. I had some fish and I had a healthy sandwich. There's my 1%er for today. Tomorrow I'm going to go and jump in the cold water. At least I think I'm going to. And I love the cold water. And there's my next %er. Then the next %er is to do it 2 days in a row, and so on.
You will, because I'm going to send you the voice note of your code, and you're going to let me know how horrible it was to take your cold plunge. So, okay. Or great. You never know.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So we'll hold each other accountable there. And, with that, there's so many ways to handle change. And, I had a great speaker. His name's Sam Dema. come on the show, and he's driven by the quote, small, consistent actions. And it's the same idea of this 1%. It's the same idea of do one little thing to make yourself better, one little thing. And every day as that adds up, it becomes this massive, massive impact, right? And that's Vernon Wright on the show who talked about massive impact. And it's the idea of if you do these little things, they build up over time, right? That's like people don't wake up one day and, oh, I'm diabetic and I'm obese or I have heart disease. It's built up over time, right?
It's chronic.
That's right. It's chronic, and little fractures in your body can lead to major breaks later in life, and replacements, and wear and tear on cartilage can lead to replacements. And again, small, consistent actions can also be taken instead of a negative way in a positive way too. And as we're sharing, if you commit to doing one little thing every day and you continually build off of that, you'll see yourself grow tenfold in the span of a year, probably more than tenfold because of that. And, with that though, Andy, we talk about how to handle change, what change looks like, the adversity change brings, how we stayed rooted in those values. We're going to move on to our last segment because we're getting to quite a long episode here. We're going to talk about the fire element. And with that, let's get into spark or burn. Hey, Alchemist, just a quick thing here. If you are enjoying the episode, as much as it means the world to me that you connect with me, subscribe to my show, it also means the world to me that you connect with Andy and subscribe to his show. You'll find all of the links to his information in the description, in the show notes of wherever you're listening to. One thing that really helps creators is watch time. So if you head over to his YouTube channel, if you head over to wherever he's listening to his podcast, just put it on in the background, go through the whole episode. You would make his day, you would make my day, and you would help be a part of change in the world for the better. Now let's get into Spark or Burn. In Spark or Burn, we either spark success or burn lessons into our memory that last. And again, Andy, I think you know where this is going. It's a new element. It's a new game. This game is a would you rather segment. And so much easier. You just have to pick this or that. No explanations, though. No time to break it down. Are you ready to give this one a go?
Yes.
All right. Final answers here. Let's lock them in. Lead people who challenge your authority or people who need constant handholding.
First one.
Lose your reputation or lose your authenticity.
First one.
Cancel a major opportunity to stay with family or go and miss something big at home.
Say that again for me.
Cancel a major opportunity to stay with your family or go and miss something big at home.
Oh, the first one. Yeah.
Take a job with huge impact but constant stress, or one with peace but low reach.
The second one now. Yeah. Years ago, it would have been the first one, but now definitely the second one.
Change your leadership style or change your circle.
Style.
Admit you were wrong in front of your team or double down and fix it quietly later.
Get it wrong in front of them. Be the fool in the room.
Always lead in crisis or always lead in complacency.
Leading crisis. Leading crisis, I guess.
Be misunderstood for your intentions or judged for your results.
Oh, say the first one again.
Be misunderstood in your intentions or judged for your results.
That's actually quite a tough one. Oh. Say it. You're going to have to say it again to me.
Be misunderstood for your intentions or judged for your results.
I think my heart's going with the first one.
Fair enough.
I'm going to overthink. I'm going to think about that one and probably come back to you though on another day.
There we go. Speak on stage to 10,000 strangers or have one brutally honest one-on-one with someone you've let down.
Oh, the second one.
And be known for changing minds or changing systems.
Change the minds of that run the systems.
There you go. Andy, what's the hardest decision you've ever had to make?
To leave England.
Why'd you leave?
To pursue my career as a teacher.
Why was it so hard?
So I'd come back from traveling the world, backpacking around the world. I'd been to, all these incredible countries, Canada being one of them. And I became what you call a cover supervisor in the UK. So you can teach basically unqualified, but you have to have a degree, which I already had. And I was trying to get on the 1-year course, and the recession had hit. So everyone had become teachers. And I wanted to be a PE teacher at the time, a high school PE teacher at the time. And to put it into perspective, there was one UK PE job going at the time. One in the whole of those millions of people. So I tried to get on the course. It was so competitive. I applied to Australia, got on immediately. So I wanted to start my career as a teacher so I could make impact in my mind. Being a young 24-year-old, I wanted to be a teacher quicker. So it shaved years off, and the plan was to go back home after my studies. But I ended up doing a year, and then a year, and ended up staying. But it was hard. It was hard because I sold my car, but I was thirsty at the same time, so it probably made it a little bit easier. But for me in my life, that was probably the hardest decision I've ever made.
How did you come to that decision? How did you separate your emotion and the logic behind that decision?
I think the thirst of wanting to be a teacher was over any emotion. I'd been to Australia a few times already, twice to be exact. So I already knew what the lifestyle was like. So that was easier, right? Somebody who'd never been before, I can imagine that decision would be a lot harder. I had a friend who was willing to put me on his floor and stuff like that. So that part I could imagine. So it made it a lot easier. It was the fact that I was leaving my mum behind that was really, really hard. I am the only child. That was difficult for me, and I live with guilt every single day.
How did you come to terms with it?
I think the process of working within deep yourself, like with particularly what I've done the last 3 years, I've kind of accepted that I have a family here now, and that has to come first. The guilt still is there because I know my mum's there pretty much, on her own with a partner, and sometimes I do overthink it. I know she thinks I don't, but I do overthink it sometimes, and I live with guilt that she isn't being the grandma that I know she would like to be. But my partner's in the same situation too. We're both, we're both here. We both could wrap it up and go home. But one of my kids is in school. The other one will start in a year and a half. Their life is settled here. It would be really hard to take them out. That's the bit that would be harder now. Yeah. But we always talk about if we have to go home for a year, if somebody gets ill and we have to go and support them and stuff like that. That's also in our mind. But yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you, it is a tough one. How do you make sure that your values show up in these choices?
I think it comes back to your innate parent values, doesn't it? We have to just put our kids at the forefront of that decision. And we have to remember, the little relationships he has. And it all comes back to the connection values that we both have as well. So we have to remember his little heart and his little soul. And the basketball, I remember, you go back to your own childhood and remember how big the little things really are in a 9-year-old's heart, right? The 4-year-old would just get up and go, probably. She'd be totally cool with it. But I think he would struggle to miss his basketball and miss his friends and miss his school. And I know kids are adapting and resilient. I get all of that, but that's where I think our parent values have to stick there on that one. I think. Plus, it's really cold in England versus here. Does that answer your question, Tyler?
Yes, absolutely. And as we're wrapping up, Andy, one of the new things in the show is I've asked my previous guest to leave a question for you, not knowing that you were coming on the show, and I'll ask you to leave a guest for the next person, not knowing who it is that's coming up next. And so previously, I had Martin from the Teachers PT in my interview, and he left me the question: who made the biggest impact on your life?
The PE teacher, I'll call him out, Mr. Hewison. He was my PE teacher in high school, and he was my basketball coach. And he was himself. He would shout me down the corridor, "Whitey, are you going to hit a 3-pointer tonight for me?" And there was because of him, I hit a 3-pointer every single game of my high school career as a basketball player. There wasn't a game where I didn't hit a 3. But it's not about that. That's not what it's about. It's about him. He would shout down the corridor. He'd call me Whitey. He'd be like, he was just himself. I always remembered that. And I think the large, like you take pieces of everybody that you love in your life and admire and stuff like that. Like I took Michael Jordan's energy. And he was the one that I was referring to at the beginning of the game at the beginning of the episode where he wouldn't know that. He's my role model, right? I took his energy and his thirst for life and his competitive edge and soul and fire, because I think we're missing a lot of soul and fire in today. Kids don't fight for what they believe in anymore. They just settle. And I think it does come from the way we parent and the things that all these are beautiful things that we've invented. It's made us comfortable, too comfortable. But that he installed that energy into me, and Michael did, but Mr. Hewison did as well in authenticity. His connection, his ability to connect with me Was he the best teacher on the planet? No. But my Lord, I could connect with him, so he could teach me anything and I'd soak it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those two were the biggest ones for me. I know the Michael Jordan one's probably a bit of a cliche, but I grew up watching him play. I spent all my 18th birthday money and flew over to New York from Manchester to watch him play when he came out of retirement for the Wizards.
Awesome.
So that was huge for me. You know, I cried that night. That was when I saw him. That was absolutely huge. Mr. Hewison, they were the two big ones for me. I don't talk about Mr. Hewison a lot, but I remember just how real he was. And I always carried that forward into my own career, probably because of him. I think they're the two that really stand out for me.
That's where our lucky number 23 came out from the start of the show there. And so now some context of why 23 might be a lucky number for you. Now,
yes, there you go.
Where this is going next is, what question would you like to leave behind for my next guest, not knowing who it is, what their story is, and what they want to bring?
I think I'd have to revert it back to connection, being one of my first values and the biggest thing that I look outwards and inwards. And probably my question would be is, how important is connection to you, and what do they think the three most important traits would build the art of connection? I can think of a better way to say it, but that's kind of what I'm going to go for. So what is connection for you, and what do you think the three most important traits that make up connection for that individual? Because that would look different to everybody, I believe.
Okay. And I have one. Well, I mean, it's 7 a.m. where I am right now. I have this interview at 9 o'clock tonight. And so I'll wordsmith refine that. But I've got, how important is connection to you? And what do you think the three most important traits are that will build the art of connection? Okay.
So, happy with that
I can run with that. And
yeah.
Andy, before we fully wrap up, how can people get a hold of you if they want to connect?
Yeah, absolutely. My handles are Leading Our Own Way across all of them: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. My email, though, is andrew@leadingourownway.com. My website is leadingourownway.com as well. So anything Leading Our Own Way, type it in on Google, it'll all come up, I'm sure. And yeah, but that's my direct email, is andrew@leadingourownway.com.
And what's a final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Keep leading your own way.
There we go. Andy, it's been my pleasure to sit down, connect, collaborate with you, hear your story, and what a privilege to put it out on my platform and get to celebrate your journey with the world. And so thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule again to connect with me.
Thank you, and the honor's all mine.
Thanks for sticking around to the end of the show. If you have feedback, a suggestion, or just want to start a conversation, fire off an email to me, Tyler@elementaleducator.com. I actually read them. And if this episode sparks something, leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps more leaders find the show. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, where I put out additional content. I'll see you next time, same time, same place.